Hi, everybody. I'm Claire Kwashigawa, and you are here with another episode for the podcast. I have Emma joining me, who is one of my friends. We met actually in AMA. Emma, I'll let you introduce yourself because I'm sure you can do it better than I can.
Hi, guys. I'm Emma Dahleen.
Okay, so let's just get started with it. Like I mentioned, we've actually met in AMA, and I was wondering, how did you originally get involved in it, and what are you currently doing?
Yeah, great way to start. So I started getting involved with AMA when I was a freshman. My fall quarter, a bunch of my sorority sisters, I'm in a sorority on campus, were talking about going to like the first club meeting, and I had no idea what AMA was, but I was like, okay, whatever, like I'm not doing anything. It's a Wednesday night. What have I got to lose? And so I went to the first meeting and I just kind of fell in love with it. I really enjoyed getting the chance to hear from like a bunch of different marketing professionals and get all their advice. So I just kind of stuck with it. And now I am the current case competition director. So I led the team who competed in the AMA National Case Competition this past December. So I put together a team in September, and we worked together on a case given to us by AMA, and then get to send in a document with our findings and compete for the chance to present at New Orleans, which is super awesome. And this year we placed in the top 15, so that was super cool. And then I'm also a member of the AMA agency, so like the consulting association that was just started this year. And I'm planning on being a project manager this quarter. So those are my two big AMA deals.
Yeah, I also did the AMA agency last quarter, and then Emma and I worked together on the case competition, which
Mhm.
I had no experience in a case competition prior to the one we first did. And I feel like that's a really great way, especially if you're new to marketing, to get involved right away. But you were lucky. I feel like not everyone has a good group of friends to join the club with, and
Yeah.
especially when it was in person. I remember the first meeting I went by myself, and I was sitting in a room of like 30 or 40 people, not knowing anyone. So, what advice do you have for students looking to get involved? I know things are a little bit different now that it's remote, but any advice on how to basically make the first step?
Yeah, I'd say like don't spread yourself too thin, but definitely go for getting involved. Like a greater involvement in one club kind of looks a lot better than like just being a member in a bunch. But try to pick something that like you're genuinely interested in, or if you can, like what I try to do is like orient my involvement in like my clubs towards what I want to pursue in like a future professional career. So AMA kind of aligns well with like my marketing concentration. So that was one of the reasons I went for AMA. But I think with Zoom too, like it's a great way to like meet other people. It's
Yeah,
like, I
low
mean, it's
stakes.
yeah, it's so tough to like see people these days. So I think like putting yourself out there, getting on Zoom, it's like I know it can be tough, but it's definitely a rewarding experience.
Yeah,
And like this year, like Clara was saying, she was on my team for the AMA Nationals case, and like it was just we had a whole group of girls, and like I got to know all of them kind of individually throughout the quarter, and it was like a really fun way to like actually meet people in Zoom University, which is kind of tough. So
yeah, that's definitely good advice. Not to spread yourself too thin. That's something I for sure did my freshman year. I signed up for, I remember going to the club fair when it was in person, and I think I signed up for around 10 or 15 clubs,
yeah.
only to realize that, of course, they all met on the same 2 days and quickly realized I had to cut everything down. So, definitely some good advice. Don't spread yourself too thin. But that being said, you are doing a lot of things outside of AMA. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your extracurriculars on top of the club. How are you really managing it all? And yeah, what are you up to?
Yeah, that advice is kind of hypocritical coming from me. But yeah, I love doing case competitions. So I do a ton of those. I tend to do around 4 to 5 a quarter, or at
Oh,
least I
per
try
quarter?
to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But so it sounds like a lot, but I think it's kind of one of my favorite parts of like getting a business education is really like the most tangible way I've found, at least, to like use my knowledge. So I do a ton of case competitions. And then I'm actually doing some marketing for the Global Business Center case competition that happens in April. So it's like the big UW international one where we like bring schools in from around the globe. And it's just like been so fun. We're on like a little team of like students, and like I have a boss who's a student too, and he's actually now one of my close friends.
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. And so I feel like a lot of my activities are like case comp related. So I'm also in the global case competition club. But yeah, those are like my RSO kind of type deals. I guess case competitions don't really count, but they're my favorite.
How did you first get involved? Was that something you did in high school, or was that something you just signed up for with friends and then it took off? I mean, how did you first get all of that?
Yeah. No, I never really did anything business oriented in high school. So case competitions were kind of random for me, but there's a case in the fall that happens every year. It's called RIC. It's the Russell Investments International Case Competition, and they have a freshman direct track. So like me and three of my like freshman friends were like, okay, like what have we got to lose? And only two of us are in Foster. One of my other friends is now a neuroscience major, and the other one's in international relations. But we just randomly signed up to do it, and it was the most like they dropped the case and none of us had any idea of like what to do. We're like, what? We don't even know what half of this like terminology even means. But we like put together a random case like the hour before the presentation. We're like scrambling to like come up with something to say, and then we went in there and it was super fun, and it just like gave like a huge adrenaline boost, and we had like a great time, and we still talk about it, and that we ended up winning that direct track.
Wow.
For the freshmen. Yeah, and that kind of just kickstarted everything. And then since then I joined as many as I could. But the AMA one, not to advertise, but I'm gonna advertise, is like the best way to get started, because that really like I think kind of kickstarted my like career into going into international cases and like really getting involved with case teams through the university. And it's like a really simple, easy commitment that I think can really add a lot of depth to your resume too.
Yeah, that's definitely how it was for me because, like I mentioned, I came in with no experience whatsoever. And to be able to work on a really diverse team with not only different majors, but people who originally were from all over the country coming together was a really good experience. And I guess you were pretty lucky that you found out that you loved that as a freshman. So, for people that are freshmen or even incoming freshmen, which is kind of crazy to think about, what is one
Yeah,
thing you wish you would have known back before you started your case competition journey?
gosh. That's a toughie. I keep forgetting that everyone's getting their acceptances right now. So that's super fun. I'd say um just recognizing that you're going to fail sometimes, and that's okay. That's just something I think every college student is gonna have to go through. Like I think you come into UW from high school, like generally like you've been at the top of your class,
Mhm.
and it's kind of tough to come in and get like in a class where the curve is set at like a 3.1 and you're like, what? Like I've never gotten a 3.1 in my life. But that's just kind of something that I think comes with time, and like you get better at organizing things, you learn a lot. Like I think my first midterm, econ 200, I think I bombed it, and I was like, oh my god, I need to like drop UW, like I'm not worthy enough to be here, like everyone's so smart. But like it doesn't work like that, and you can like push yourself to like learn in new ways. And like I came in clutch for the final or something and ended up with a decent GPA in the class, so it's like it's not the end of the world. You're gonna fail, it's okay.
I also learned that the hard way in econ as well. I
I
remember
got
sitting there after we got the tests back thinking, well, I guess this is college. I think
I know they show the giant bell curve on the class. I'm like, okay, so I'm here in the little lower percentile.
and then lastly, I guess we'll end on more of a positive note besides failing classes and quizzes. What would you say has been your most memorable moment in college so far? Still have a little bit to go, but what so far has been one thing? It doesn't have to be academically related, just in general, that's really summarized your college experience or been a high point?
There's a lot, but ironically, like the first one that pops to my mind is AMA related. But I had the chance to travel to New Orleans right before COVID shut down everything. it was actually like during the midst of all the shutdowns. So we thought we might get stuck there, but we didn't. But we got to go to the AMA national conference there. And it was just 5 of us on the team. And then our advisor, Lita Beard, she's a professor at UW. Is like now one of my like best friends. Love her. But it was just like such a great experience. Like I was kind of learning at the time that business was really what I wanted to do, and just getting the chance to like hang out with a bunch of people who I didn't super know that well, like in New Orleans, was like so sick, and ate some beignets, held a python or something on Bourbon Street. It was just a great time. And like, I'm really looking forward to like more experiences like that when we get to go back in person.
Well, thank you. That's a really good way to end it. And it was really nice to talk to you. And everyone, make sure to tune in for the next episode. Bye.
Thanks, Clara. Bye, guys.